I've changed the melody a little bit, okay? This part that's Shakedown 1979, basically following what the guitar is doing in the song. It's slightly different. Let's figure out what it is. Okay, that's the actual song's melody. It's going So I'll throw that in when we learn it as well. So I'll give you two ways that you can play it. Primarily, I'm going to teach the way I played it, and if you want to see that video, if you didn't just catch me singing it, go onto my Instagram page, Denim Gorgeous, and watch one of the recent Instagram TV videos. I did it there. It's a nice rendition, I think. Okay, the verse and the chorus are pretty similar to begin with. They're sort of rotating around the same things, or the same chords at least, the same chord progression. We just sort of changed the strumming pattern and the way we're playing it. So the verse, as well as the chorus, is mostly just two chords. The first one is this D major 7 sort of triad. Angle the camera up a tiny bit. Down. Okay. Hope this is okay. Let me zoom in a little bit. Maybe I'll zoom out as well. Okay, so the first little chord is this D major 7th triad. What I'm playing is first finger on the 5th fret of the 5th string. Sort of like a 5th or power chord, the beginning of a power chord at least. Third finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string. And then instead of having my pinky just below that, like I would for a power chord, I'm using my second finger to put that 7th in. So that is the 6th fret of the 3rd string. And just playing those three things. I'm not worrying about doing the rest of the chord or opening it up or making sure I'm like using the other part of my index finger here to mute the bottom strings as well there. So that if I were to strum the entire guitar, all I'm getting is these three strings. My first finger is also, if you have the ability to do this, is just touching the 6th string up here so that I can actually strum the entire guitar and you're only hearing those three strings. If you're not at that difficulty, you can sort of do the same thing by playing your D down here with a small adaptation. You're going to take your first finger and your second finger and put it on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string and the 2nd fret of the 2nd string, and only play the 4th string, the 3rd string, and the 2nd string. That triad is the same as this triad. It's just kind of tonally a little bit nicer up here, so I play it like that. But you could do the same down here. Okay. As well as that chord, the other chord is a G chord. If you've been to my class in the music gym and you know my style of playing, or you were around for the last Instagram Live video lesson that I did, where I used the G chord, you'll know that I don't really use this beginner's G very often. Not a big fan of it that much. I mostly just put my second finger on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, and more often than not, just let everything be open from that point down. Every one of the strings, or every note that's of the open strings, is going to work for a G major chord quite nicely. So that's what I do. But incidentally, I am trying to mute the 5th string just on this one occasion. You don't always do that with a G, but I'm doing that now. I'm trying to mute this 5th string so that I can strum most of the guitar, and I've only really got the 6th string being heard where my second finger is, an open 4th, an open 3rd, an open 2nd, maybe an open 1st if you want, but sometimes the base of my palm down here is muting that as well. There's no concrete way this has to be. It's going to sound fine if you mute certain strings or you don't mute certain strings, because they're all going to be in the key, so it'll be okay. So we've got this D major 7th triad and this open my style of G down here. On top of that, I told you about this melody that's being played in the song. Well, it's sort of the vocalist melody, and it's also mimicking what this electric guitar of the song is doing. It's playing like a riff, and that's following or working off of the vocal melody. I try and incorporate that as well, so I'm playing the chords as well as playing melody. So we've got to figure out the melody. We're starting with this triad. The beginning melody that sits underneath or on top of this D major 7th triad is really easy. It's just going to go bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum da-dum da-da-dum. Okay, so how will we play that? Major 7th triad, and I'm just going to do down strums. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see my right hand as well. I'm just going to do down strums the whole time, and I'm going to, for the second part, bum bum ba da da dum, that part of the melody, I'm putting my pinky on to the 7th fret of the 3rd string, which is just 1 fret up from where my 2nd finger is. Basically a power chord, and then I don't have to have my 2nd finger there. But you'll see as I play it, I kind of just leave it there because it's not really that important to take it off. So, all down strums, and we're going bum bum ba da da dum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I guess that's how many that I'm playing. I don't really think about it until just now, actually counting it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So on the 8th, you throw your 4th finger down. And I'm doing it by palm muting, because that's sort of what sounds good. I might not always do this throughout the song, but it's a good way to just keep it dynamically kind of mild. So, palm muting with my right hand, just touching a little bit further than where this bridge is, just a tiny bit further so that it's... I want it to be sort of like muffled a little bit. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, the next part of that melody that sits underneath this D major 7 triad, that is an A string, or this is how I'm interpreting it at least, and playing it for the video or rendition that I did. That's an A note, the 5th fret of the 6th string. So the way that we play that is, now we've just moved from this little power chord that we've got on the 5th fret, of the 5th string, this D power chord. I'm just going to take my first finger and move it up to the A string. That's just moving it up to the A note on the E string. Lots of letters, very confusing. Hope you're following. I'm moving it up to the 6th string, to the A note on the E string, and now I'm going to bar the 5th frets of the 6th string and the 5th string. So that I'm pushing down 2 strings at once with my first finger. This is essentially a D second inversion, where the A is now the root, or the 5th note, if you know music theory, that was in the D is now the root. I do that a lot, I like it a lot, so it's good to do it for this song. So, that's what we need to hit, and we've still got the rest of the power chords still played, so we're now hitting 4 strings. All of that melody is bum bum ba da 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 ba dun da da dun, and I guess the strumming pattern is pretty open for interpretation. I'm just sort of like mimicking what the rhythm is in my head. There's no concrete, you've got to do this and you've got to do it every time. But if I break it down for simplistic terms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, little break. Yeah, maybe something like that. So you can keep them simple, they can all just be down strums, and you don't always have to down strum. You can take little breaks and just try and like mimic what you're hearing the rhythm is here. Bum ba da ba da da dum ba dum ba da bum bum ba da 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 dum ba dum da da dum dum da 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 dum ba dum da 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 dum dum da 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 dum ba dum da da dum. That's all palm muted. You don't always have to palm mute it if you want. If you don't, it's just going to sound a lot more open. Okay, the way you would play that if you were doing this if you're not really at a skill level where you can do this power chord, this major 7th triad, the way that you would do that down here, that I was showing you, is you've got your 2 fingers there, and you're really making sure at this point to only play 4th string, 3rd string, and 2nd string. And first part of the melody. Then you're going to put your 3rd finger where you would normally for an open D major chord, which is on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And then to incorporate what we were doing up here, you just move from strumming from the 4th string down to strum from the 5th string down. That includes this 5th string now, and it includes the note A. So we've got... Okay, if we palm muted that... Okay, that's pretty much half of the verse, and sort of half of the chorus, as I was saying, they're pretty similar things. Second half of the verse, we've moved on to this open, or my style, of a G chord. And the reason I'm only using 1 finger is because I'm trying to play the melody over the top of G, and I need these other fingers to play it at the same time. They can all still be down strums, so it can be relatively easy to keep doing the melody. But the melody that I play, and then I'm going to show you what the actual melody is, just so you've got an option, but I like my style, that's why I did it. Okay, how do I do that? Okay, all down strums, and the only time I'm down strumming is when I think a melody note needs to come through. So, starting with just this G chord, one fingered on, just playing that. Then I've got my fourth finger. Most of the melody is all happening on this fourth string down here. So you kind of use your fourth finger and your first finger to play around on that fourth string and play with the melody that you need. So, first note is on the fourth fret of this fourth string. Next note, second fret of the fourth string. So fourth finger to the first finger. Yeah, so 4, you got open G, 4, 2, down, 4, 2, up to the fifth, still with my pinky finger and still on the fourth string. 5, 4, 2, open, open. So normal G to start with, 4, 2, 5, 4, 2, open. 4, 2, 5, 4, 2, oh, oh. 4, 2, 5, 4, 2, oh, oh. These are all still just down strums, and I would normally palm mute it. I'm not just not doing it now, just sort of show you so you can hear it all. 4, 2, 5, 4, 2, oh, oh. 4, 2, 5, 4, 2, oh, oh. So leading into that from this little D melody and chord that I was doing, it's D major 7. 4, 2, 5, 4, 2, oh, oh. 4, 2, 5, 4, 2, oh, oh. Shakedown 1979. That's what's convenient. So if you're not as good of a singer as the good singers out there, like me, it's pretty helpful to play the melody on the guitar so that you can match it with your voice, and just makes things really easy. So maybe that's what I did, like subconsciously, when I was trying to figure out the rendition that I was going to play. So that's the melody that I do. But what's the actual melody? So that's the actual melody in the song that plays underneath the G. It's still sitting underneath that whole thing, and you could do that while you're playing the G as well if you wanted. You could mix it up every now and then as well and do one this way and one that way. What that is 4, 5, 4, 2, 0. All on the fourth string again. 4, 5, 4, 2, 0. 2, 4. And then the last note is the second fret on the third string, just one string down. So everything on the fourth string. 4, 5, 4, 2, 0, 2, 4, and then down to the third string, second fret. So I'm just holding the G underneath that still, just doing down strums the whole time, and only strumming when the melody actually needs to be played. I'm not like trying to do down and up and have the melody fall somewhere in there. Just downing for the beat of the melody. So really slow. In the song as well, it's on electric guitar, and I play it on acoustic guitar, and that's just one of the ways that I did the rendition. But there's a pretty distinctive bend sound going on in this electric guitar thing, where it's not bum 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 bum, it's distinctively wow. And you could do that if you wanted to. Could you do that while you're playing the G? You probably could. And just bend it with your fourth finger. Bend it down enough that it reaches the pitch of the fifth and back down to the fourth. As long as you get close enough, it's going to sound alright. The only difference with that melody to the melody that I played is that melody starts immediately. So as soon as you hit the G, that's the first note of the melody. Whereas the one I did is, it waits a little bit. Hits just an open